Thanks for joining us on Plus TV Africa. My name is Felicity Ezewike. Following the invasion at the National Assembly Tuesday, Acting President Yemi Osinbajo has approved the appointment of Mr. Matthew Seyifa as the Acting Director General of the Department of State Services. This was sequel to the sacking of former DG Lawal Daura, who was dismissed on Tuesday in the aftermath of the siege on the National Assembly by security operatives allegedly acting on his instruction. Here is a brief profile of the acting DG of DSS, Mr. Matthew Seyifa. Staying on fluid developments at the National Assembly, Acting President of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, has sacked the DG, Department of State Services, Lawal Daura, and has been directed to hand over to the most senior officer of the State Security Service until further notice. Reacting to the siege at the National Assembly, Professor Osinbajo says the takeover of the National Assembly by security operatives earlier in the day was a gross violation of constitutional order and was not authorized by the presidency. Professor Osinbajo has, however, assured Nigerians that all persons within the law enforcement apparatus who participated in this travesty will be identified and subjected to appropriate disciplinary action. Meanwhile, the British government has reacted to the siege at the National Assembly, saying it would only accept a democratic process that recognizes the rights of Nigerians to participate in the election process. The statement comes hours after Ben Murray Bruce, a senator from Bayelsa State, asked that foreign sanctions be meted out on those involved in the siege at the parliament. The national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Uche Secondus, has called on the United Kingdom to expel President Muhammadu Buhari, who he accused of hiding in England to allegedly undermine democracy in Nigeria. He said that Britain should not allow its environment to be turned into what he called a haven for anti-democracy conspirators. Secondus said in a statement signed by his media advisor, Mr. Ike Aboyi, that the president left the country for the UK for 10 days leave to enable the nefarious activities that lined out against democracy to be executed in his absence. He, however, saluted the courage of the acting president, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, for sacking the Director General of the Department of State Services, Lawal Daura, adding that Nigeria cannot be ruled by cabals. The Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room has condemned the siege of the National Assembly complex earlier today by personnel of the Department of State Services, DSS. The Situation Room, a coalition of civil society groups, say the siege is an affront on Nigeria's democracy and an attempt to change government unconstitutionally.
It is our concern that today's barricade of the National Assembly represents a series of undemocratic actions by the executive arm of government that poses major questions about Nigeria's practice of democracy. This falls into a growing list of deliberate attempts to undermine the constitutional order by the government.
That siege was simply a display of utter flagrant disrespect for our law and our constitutionalism. Where are we headed in this country? Thousands are dying in Zamfara without security. Look at what is happening in Plateau. Look at what is happening in Taraba. And yet, our armed forces are so willing, they bring guns to National Assembly, desecrating our sacred places. Enough is enough.
It seems to me that they want to destroy the democracy. They want to collapse the country for us, and we are not going to allow it. I am calling on the Nigerian youth to sit up now as we are entering the election period to say no to all this rascality. It is a democratic government. It is not a military government. So we want to have a pure democratic government where people and their view should remain.
It is imperative that just as the executive is being challenged and called to order on their use of security forces, the National Assembly also needs to realize that they also have a responsibility, that they were elected to represent people. So the busyness of defecting between parties that's now foisting part of this is also something that needs to be spoken about.
Two commissioners in Akwa Ibom State who received Senator Godswill Akpabio at the airport in Uyo have been sacked by Governor Udom Emmanuel. The sacked commissioners are Victor Antai of Culture and Tourism and Ibanga Akpabio of Labor, Productivity and Manpower Planning. Mr. Akpabio, who recently resigned from office as the Senate Minority Leader, ignited a political storm in Akwa Ibom over his planned defection from the opposition People's Democratic Party to the ruling All Progressive Congress. A statement issued on Tuesday evening by the Secretary to the State Government, Emmanuel Ekuwem, said Mr. Antai and Mr. Akpabio were sacked from the State Executive Council because of their reluctance to comply with good governance processes of government. The statement asked the sacked commissioners to hand over to the permanent secretaries in their respective ministries before the close of work on Wednesday. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Police Command on Monday paraded one Hadijat Kabir, aged 45 years old, who had staged the kidnap of herself and her 18-year-old daughter, Hamidat Kemi. Our correspondent Susan Jasper spoke with the Lagos Public Relations Officer who gave details of the investigation. Let's listen to that report.
It's customary with us. We commenced the investigation. We were able to localize the call to a place called Adodo in Ogun State. At Adodo, our detectives, well-trained detectives from the anti-kidnapping unit, were able to trace and, arrest we were able to arrest the people holding the woman hostage, supposed to hold the woman hostage. And we believed truly that they were kidnappers when we arrested them. So she told us the truth, that she managed her own, because she wanted her husband to give her about 50 million naira. That's what they demanded in ransom. And the husband could have paid that money. He has the capacity to pay such an amount of money to get her rescued. And then we asked her, why did you do what you did? She then said that her husband is stingy. It doesn't provide necessary for the family.
We'll take a quick break. Stay tuned for more news when we return.
It is not yet over. The Get to Latin Millions promo is still on. 110 people have won up to 65 million naira already, and you can be one of them, as there is 31 million naira still available to be won. You stand a chance to become a millionaire. All you have to do is walk into a Fidelity Bank near you and open an account with 10,000 naira or pay in 10,000 naira to your already existing account. And you stand a chance to win 1 million, 2 million, and 3 million naira in the monthly draw. Grow your account to 50,000 naira and stand a chance to win up to 5 million naira. That's not all. Lots of consolation prizes like refrigerators and generators to be won. Rush now to the Fidelity Bank near you and start saving for a chance to become a millionaire in the Fidelity Get a Lot in Millions promo.
We're Fidelity. We keep our word.
I don't get a lot. God, you win.
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres spoke by the telephone with Zimbabwean President Emmerson Mnangagwa and with Nelson Chamisa, the candidate of Opposition Movement for Democratic Change Alliance. In his two calls, Guterres made clear that he counted on the president of Zimbabwe to ensure that the security forces show maximum restraint. According to Deputy Spokesperson Farhan Haq, the frontrunner in the July 30 presidential election, where Mnangagwa from the ruling ZANU-PF party and his opponent Chamisa, head of MDC Alliance, the Secretary General also encouraged the opposition to pursue their electoral grievances through legal channels. President of Eritrea, has averred that the United Nations Security Council needs an amount of meaningful reform to perform its underlying task of maintaining global peace. A tweet sent out by Yemeni Meskel, Eritrean Information Minister, said in part, President Isaias underlined the need for the meaningful structural reform of UNSC to ensure fulfillment of task of maintenance of international peace and security entrusted to it. He was addressing a Japanese delegation that called on him on Tuesday in Asmara, Japan. He's hoping to secure Eritrean backing for a non-permanent seat on the UNSC. It is not known whether Eritrea agreed to back Japan on the issue. When we return, we will bring you updates from the foreign scene and much more. Stay with us. The United States Trade Representative on Tuesday said the U.S. will begin collecting 25% tariffs on another $16 billion worth of Chinese goods. This comes after the office published its final tariff listing targeting 279 imported product lines. The latest announcement will affect semiconductors from China, electronics, plastics, chemicals, and railway equipment. However, the USTR removed some items from the list after a 46-day public comment and review period, which had potential to cause economic harm. Last month, tariff was imposed on $24 billion in goods from China. This now brings total Chinese imports with 25% tariff to about $50 billion in the escalating trade war. The Russian government was responsible for the attacks on the U.S. election process in 2016. U.S. Secretary of State General James Mattis has declared. Mattis said at Pentagon that the Defense Department would provide all support necessary to the Department of Homeland Security and law enforcement agencies to protect U.S. elections from Russian interference and other bad actors. We all saw what happened in 2016 when the Russians and possibly others tried to do both influence operations and actually tried to corrupt some of the process, he said. Up next is our business reports with Edidiang Iwang.
Welcome to Business. I'm Edidiang Iwang. While Nigeria's foreign exchange reserves have dropped below $47 billion, losing $251 million in the first 6 days of the month. Now, this is according to data from the Central Bank of Nigeria. The reserves, which stood at $47.119 billion as of July 31, fell to $46.868 billion on August 6th, and that's the lowest level in nearly 4 months. The reserves hit a high of $47.798 billion on July 5 and had been declining since then. This was due to the foreign investors' pullback from the Nigerian market and the increase in demand at the foreign exchange market. The total inflow through the investors and exporters window between April 2017 and July 2018 stood at $34.29 billion. Analysis shows that the total inflow through the investors and exporters window in July was the lowest figure recorded since August 2017. Well, the federal government of Nigeria has commenced restriction of the issuance of visas to foreigners seeking to take up engineering roles in Nigeria in order to free up more space jobs for Nigerians and improve local content. It said it had also approved 2 key regulations for Nigeria's engineering construction sector, namely regulation on licensing of engineering firms and regulation on construction industry. Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari said the restriction of visas to foreign engineers was enforced by the Ministry of Interior in compliance with the Executive Order 5, which he signed recently. President Buhari, who was represented by Minister of Water Resources Suleiman Adams, made the announcement while speaking in Abuja at the 27th Engineering Assembly of the Council for Regulation of Engineers in Nigeria. Now, still ahead on Plus TV Africa News is our roundup entertainment and sports. Don't go away.
And in entertainment, renowned musician Innocent Idibia, also popularly known as 2Baba, has reacted to the recent development on the DSS siege, where all entrances to the National Assembly complex were blocked by DSS personnel. The 42-year-old reacted on social media by urging Nigerians not to be misled by the impeachment spectacle orchestrated by senior lawmakers who he says have lost every sense of shame in their game of maneuvering. Last year, 2Baba pulled out of his planned protest to the National Assembly and the State House regarding ongoing adversities faced by the masses. Kenyan gospel artist Don Co has addressed rumors about eloping and getting married to his pastor's wife. The rumors started way back in 2016, and Don Co has not responded up until now. According to him, he says he has never been homeless and that she was already separated and they had gone their separate ways a few years before, and that's when they started their relationship. He added that someone malicious tried to make it look like he was the one who made them split. He started dating the woman after a year and a half after she separated from her husband, he concluded. Angelina Jolie is seeking a court mandate forcing her estranged husband to pay a major share of the costs of raising their 6 children. The Maleficent star's lawyer, Samantha Blade Dijon, filed new legal documents in Los Angeles Superior Court on the 7th of August, stating Jolie's objective to seek a court order forcing Brad Pitt to pay a significant share of the costs of raising their 6 children. In the meantime, Jolie is also pushing for the judge to issue a final divorce decree this year so as to legally reinstate her single status. And that's it on entertainment, the very best in sports, right after this.
Hello and welcome to Sports Update on Plus TV Africa. I am Udoka Njoko. Moving straight to what it is. The season is upon us and Chelsea's new boss, Maurizio Sarri, has warned that it could take 3 months before his team will be able to perform to their full potential. And Sarri said he has been unable to work with some of his players due to their participation in this summer's World Cup in Russia. And Chelsea's first game in the 2018-2019 Premier League season will be away at Huddersfield on Saturday. And Sarri also revealed he did not know anything about the situations involving the goalkeepers Courtois or Arrizabalaga, but added that the latter, that he saw Courtois 1 year ago. And he also said his first impression about Courtois is that he is a very good goalkeeper. And still on sports, Fulham have completed the signing of Arsenal defender Callum Chambers on a season-long loan deal. And Chambers is the 7th new arrival at the Craven Cottage this summer following the London club's return to the Premier League. And Chambers played 12 Premier League games for Arsenal last season, and the new Arsenal manager, Unai Emery, believes the England international has a bright future in the game. And Fulham play Crystal Palace on Saturday in their first game back in the Premier League since 2013-2014 season. And in tennis, British #1 Johanna Konta came from behind to defeat 11th seed Jelena Ostapenko in the first round of the Rogers Cup in Montreal. And Konta, ranked 43rd in the world after starting this year in 9th position, prevailed 6-7, 6-1, 6-2. And Johanna Konta will go on to face Victoria Azarenka in the second round after the 2-time Grand Slam winner defeated Kristina Mladenovic 6-love, 6-1. And Mara Sharapova, Angelique Kerber, and Petra Kvitova have all made it to the round of 32. And that's it on Sport Update on Plus TV Africa. I am Udoka Njoko.
Thank you, Udoka. And that's our news roundup of event at this hour. For more news updates, please follow us at Plus TV Africa on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can as well subscribe to our YouTube page at Plus TV Africa. We'll be back later with more stories making the headlines. Do well to join us again. My name is Felicity Ezewike. Thanks for watching.